Cashflow Diary Podcast, episode 55.
Congratulations, you showed up. Give yourself a high five in celebration of your success. Welcome to the Cashflow Diary, where new and experienced investors come to take confident action towards their goals. Your host is a family man, a real estate entrepreneur, investor, coach, and instructor. As a master facilitator of Robert Kiyosaki's Cashflow 101 game, he's inspired many to begin their journey into creating cash flow for themselves and their family. And now, here he is to offer you the tools required to earn the income desired. Your cash flow coach, Jay Massey.
All right, and welcome to another episode of the Cashflow Diary Podcast. I am here. Hello, fellow cashflow creators. How are you doing today? I hope you are excited because this is what I do know. I know that today's episode could possibly be, for you, the most important episode that you have listened to. Yes, I know we've had some incredible guests. I know you've learned some incredible things. I know many of you have taken some phenomenal, massive action in going in the direction, moving at lightning speed, or dare I say, the speed of instruction, because what you are going to hear today, this is literally, ladies and gentlemen, the key for that lock or that perceived lock that has the ability to unlock everything that you're looking for when it comes to your cash flow creation. Now, for those of you meeting us for the first time, make sure that you go over to episode number 1. Listen to it if you want to understand a little bit of the story. People ask me all the time, Jay, how did you get started? And the short version is, me and my wife, we had a lot of trouble. I had a punctured lung. I couldn't walk and talk. My wife almost died 3 times. She couldn't eat or drink. And yet, even with a credit score of 398 and literally no cash, we've still been able to go out there and build a real estate portfolio that spans multiple states, hundreds of units, 2 commercial properties at the moment, 1 commercial property at the moment, negotiating on the second, and working on our first international resort. It's awesome. It's fun. It's great. But it's not possible without the skill set we're going to talk about on this particular episode. For those of you looking, however, to learn how to do real estate, you want to learn this thing, go over to learninvestingnow.com. That's your gateway to free, complimentary education to get started. For those of you looking that say, you know what, I just want to do it, I'm ready to take action, go over to begininvestingnow.com. That's where we have single family homes sitting there waiting for you to go out there and start your cash flow journey. Now, you might be asking yourself, what is that most important skill? Well, not only are we going to talk about that most important skill, but you've heard me say that there aren't many trainers of this skill that I have ever recommend. And I'm excited because there are only a select few. And what's important today is that he whom you will listen to today is one of the ones that unlocked the key for me, unlocked those gates, opened a whole new world of opportunity. And I'm excited simply because we've been able to create a significant amount of influence and opportunity for ourselves and many, many other people because of the information you're going to learn on this particular episode. So what's the skill? The skill, ladies and gentlemen, is sales. And more importantly, doing it well. The individual who will be able to share that with you today is none other than Mr. Eric Lofholm. Eric, are you there?
Yes, I am, Jay.
Excellent. I am so excited that you are here because, I'm sure you hear this all the time from all of your students all across the world. Thank you for influencing me in a way that made it possible for what was inside to come on the outside and be able to help so many different people.
Yeah, I was thrilled as we were talking before the interview, just hearing about how this information has impacted you. And I do my best just to share this with as many people as possible. I was gifted with this knowledge, and we'll talk a little bit about my story a little later in our chat here. But this information has been life-changing for me, and based on what you shared, it's been life-changing for you as well. And hopefully for many of the listeners, we'll have a big impact on them today.
I'm confident of it. I'm definitely confident of it. And in fact, since you bring it up, let's talk a little bit about what I call your origin story right now. I mean, there might be some people who actually don't know your name yet, but they should, and that's why you're here, and I appreciate that. So let's share with them, who is Eric Lofholm? How did you get to be? Did you just wake up one day and go, boom, I am a sales champion, done? Is that how that happened?
Yeah, that's pretty funny. When I started in sales, I wasn't even in sales because I wanted to be. I drifted into sales. One of my mentors, Ben Gay III, the man behind the Closers book series, says that, we drift into sales. No one dreams in high school. Someday I can go into straight commission, and even if you're not listening right now, if you're not a traditional salesperson, you use sales skills. Jay's expertise is in real estate, and we were talking about how there's all these different sales conversations that happen as you're transacting deals, whether it's raising capital or you're negotiating deals. But I started, it's interesting, I actually worked for a real estate investor. It was a story kind of like the show The Apprentice with Donald Trump. In my early 20s, I went to work for this multimillionaire real estate investor, and I thought, Jay, I was going to become successful as a real estate investor, and I just wanted to get around this guy. And when I got there, I asked him, what do you want me to do for you? And he said, sales. So I was the bottom producer on the team the whole first year that I worked for him.
Nice.
And at the end of my first year, I missed the quota. The minimum standard quota was $10,000 a month in gross sales, and I'd missed it 2 months in a row. My manager called me into the office. He wrote me up and said, Eric, selling's not for everybody. It's probably not for you. You've got one more month or we're going to fire you. So that's how I got my start in sales. And on the verge of being fired, I started looking for answers. And I came across a guy named Dr. Donald Moyne, who has mentored me the last 20 years. He's written many books on sales, and he developed a system for how to sell, and he taught me his system. And with Dr. Moyne's system, that month that I was on quota probation, I did make the quota. The quota was 10,000. I did 10,500 in gross sales. That means, Jay, I made quota by one sale, and the following month I did 51,000. So I went from worst to first in 60 days once I had a system, once I was professionally trained. So one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about teaching and training people the skill set is that I learned that it's a learned skill. And my kind of take on it is if I can do it, you can do it. If I can learn how to be successful in sales coming from that background with proper training, then anybody can.
Exactly. And I like the fact, because I know if we could, let's talk a little bit about some of those misconceptions, some of those things that we grow up thinking sales might be, but really isn't. And I definitely believe, because it was true for me, I believed, definitely before I met you, I believed that you were just born a salesperson, but you just said it's a learned skill. Those are two completely different belief structures.
That's right. Yeah, what you say is really important because there's a lot of misconception about sales. And for any of you listening right now, you may be uncomfortable with sales. And if you are, it's not your fault. I mean, let's face it, in our culture, there's a stigma to sales. And I've interviewed audiences. I'll ask audiences, what do you think of when you think of a salesperson? Raise your hand, share your answer. And it's always the same. Arm twisting, high pressure, manipulation, selfish, used car sales, etc. The movie that's popular now, Wolf on Wall Street, recently came out, and it was a guy who used sales and persuasion skills to con people out of millions of dollars. And so sales out there gets a really bad rap, and here's the deal. We need sales skills. And so what I do for people is, one is I help undo their bad sales programming. Because if you're in business and you have resistance to sales, it's unlikely here's how big it is, Jay. It's unlikely that you're going to achieve your ultimate financial destiny with a resistance to sales. And selling isn't good or bad. It's simply a skill set. And the way I teach it, it's a language. It's a form of communication that increases the likelihood that the other person says yes. So if when you're doing a real estate deal, if you want the other person to say yes, if you're raising capital, if you're negotiating a deal, if you're selling a product or service, if you're recruiting somebody for your opportunity, if whatever, you want to get a date, right? You want a yes. And so if you want more yeses, then you want to learn this way to communicate that increases the likelihood that the other person says yes. There's a very step-by-step process to it, and Dr. Moyne taught it to me, and here I am millions and millions of dollars later, and it's a skill set that got transferred. And so what I do now is I transfer the skill set, and you're one of the many people that I've had the privilege of having an impact on, sharing these views and ideas and philosophies to make a difference.
Indeed. And just so that, not that I do this often, but I want to let everybody know, when he says millions and millions of dollars, that's a lot. But for me personally, I know that having become a master of sales has translated into well over $14 million worth of real estate transactions, well over $7 million worth of raised capital. And not only just that, think about all the team members that it takes to get that done, and making sure that these initiatives and projects that we go out there to do happen, and all the jobs that we create. It's about so many more things of people that we get to serve because of this one small skill. Talk about impact and influence. This is why it becomes something passionate for me, because naturally, left to my own devices, I'm going to seek out the darkest corner and read a book and hide out and be introverted and shy and never talk to anyone I don't know, which were some of my initial resistances to the whole concept of sailing. What else would you say is out there as a misconception that people go, besides the plaid jackets? We got that. You don't have to wear a plaid jacket to be a salesperson, which is awesome, by the way. But what are some of the other things that you see that hold people back in terms of their resistances to sales?
Well, before I answer that, to echo your point, and your track record's extraordinary. You talk about millions and millions that it's made a difference for you. But the thing that's even more significant, you know this, is that you have a skill set. And so you could use that skill set not only for the results that you've already produced, but it's never going to end because you now know how to do this. And I want all of you listening right now just to imagine that for a second. Imagine that you had this skill set transferred to you just like it's been transferred to Jay, and what that could mean to you in your life. It does start with mindset. And there are these misconceptions. My mentor, Dr. Donald Moyne, says selling is 90% psychology. And one of the misconceptions about sales is that people don't understand that there is a step-by-step process. And so once you have that process, you can apply it really to any situation when you want to influence somebody else, whether you're raising capital, getting a loan, influencing somebody to buy your product or service. There's a process. Another misconception, and the most profitable idea, in fact, I've ever learned of any idea is sales scripting. And that has to do with preparing your presentation in advance. And the misconception about sales scripting is that when people think of a script, they think it's canned, rehearsed, mechanical, inauthentic. It's just not me, the telemarketer interrupting your dinner. And if you think about this logically, if you resist scripting, then of course you're not going to apply the proven scripting techniques that can make your presentation more effective. And so this is what Dr. Moyne taught me. He taught me this whole science around scripting. And another misconception is that asking for the order and at the end of your presentation and being silent is being pushy. And probably the single biggest thing, Jay, for somebody who's struggling with persuading and influencing others and closing deals is they just don't ask at the end. And if you ask them, well, why don't you ask at the end? Well, that's being pushy, Jay. I don't want to be salesy. And so they just don't understand they just don't understand these points. No one like myself has ever had a conversation with them about sales like the one we're having right now. And because of that, they're afraid to deliver an effective presentation. They're afraid of scripts. They're afraid of asking for the order. They don't want to, be unliked by the other person. And all of these things cause them to have a fraction of the influence that they're capable of.
Indeed. And I've had to learn that I would rather be respected than liked, but most importantly, I'd rather be salesy than brokesy. So I will definitely go out there and ask for the order. And what's really funny about that is that I find myself on occasion, if I'm in conversation with someone else who is a salesperson or learning to be a salesperson or in the sales role, I will purposefully wait for them to ask for the order to see if they will do it. And unfortunately, so few do. And this is never more true than at a car dealership. At least that's been my experience, is that so few of them are properly trained. But it's just amazing how often that something that simple does not happen. But now what I'm excited about is that we can gain a different perspective of what sales really is. So speaking of which, what is sales when you think of it?
So back to this point of skill set. So the first thing is it's not good or bad. It's just a skill set. It's like, is accounting good or bad? Eric, it's neither. It's just a skill set. So selling is a skill set that increases the likelihood that the other person says yes. And what I teach is elegant influence. I don't believe in arm-twisting, high-pressure techniques, although in some cases they work. They don't work very well. And if the person does end up buying from you, they're going to feel uncomfortable through that process. And one of the things that you shared has really had an impact on you is my definition, Eric's definition of sales. It's not the definition, but it's my definition. Selling equals service. Sell from honesty, integrity, and compassion. Selling is about leading. Selling is about moving people to action. Change begins in language. There's a vocabulary to success, and there's a vocabulary to sales greatness. So I actually teach people to say what I just said is actually a series of affirmations. So selling equals service is an affirmation. Sell from honesty, integrity, and compassion is an affirmation. Selling is about leading is an affirmation. Selling is about moving people to action. You string it all together, it's multiple affirmations, and I teach people to actually say that to themselves over and over and over again to reprogram their unconscious mind. Change begins in language. Most people live in a story of selling as arm-twisting, high-pressure, manipulation. I'm not good at it. I don't like it. And one of the ways we experience reality is through the story that we tell. So change your story, change your life. You really, as you're listening to me right now, if you're open to being coachable, create a new story about sales, that you're becoming comfortable with it, that you are comfortable with it, that you're going to become great at it, and change your language around sales, and you can actually alter your reality.
Indeed. What's really funny, I'm remembering right now, and when we first met, there was a a similar process that you had the entire room do. And it was a similar affirmation where it was, if I remember correctly, it goes, he makes $10,000 a month. I make $10,000 a month. Jay earns $10,000 a month. All of those.
That's right.
I remember doing that for so long because my brain was so resistant to the idea that $10,000 a month would come my way. Now it's laughable, but that was, then versus today. And it's hearing you say this again right here in my ears, it's so awesome because it's like, wow, this is cool, and
all
I
right,
can
well, let me
speak
drop
about it
a new golden nugget on you, Jay, and everybody can benefit from this as well. And we'll just do a little advanced affirmation training for all of you because affirmations are a form of a script. And what we say is very powerful. And so my mentor, who has a PhD in psychology, taught me you affirm it three ways. So in Jay's case, back in the day, I earn $10,000 a month. He, third person, he earns $10,000 a month. Or if you're a woman listening, she earns $10,000 a month. And then Jay's first name, Jay earns $10,000 a month. And it impacts the subconscious mind differently. So I like to think in combinations. So what we're talking about here is auto-suggestion. You can look it up in the book Think and Grow Rich. It just means you say something to yourself over and over and over again to change the way that you think about something. And so my newest thought on this, thinking in combinations, we're going to add a new piece to the puzzle. And what you do, Jay, is you think of your biggest business goal, as big as you can think. So I thought of my biggest business goal. I was going to train and certify 40,000 students in my sales system. That was as big as I could think. And then one day I thought even bigger, and my new number is 1 million. So all of you listening, here's the strategy. You think as big as you can think. This is called the power of one. And you pick one goal, your biggest goal in business, and then once you come up with it, then you think even bigger. And then you apply auto-suggestion and you affirm your biggest goal and then think even bigger over and over and over again. So my new goal is I want to do something that's never been done in the history of sales training before. I want to train and certify 1 million students in my system. And so I affirm that over and over and over again. I'm going to train and certify 1 million students. I'm going to train and certify 1 million students in the Eric Lofholm sales system. I'm going to train and certify 1 million students to the point where I now believe it. Now, what you believe is important because it influences the actions that you take. Your actions are what actually produces the result. So beliefs are important because they influence the actions you take, but your results are actually produced by the actions that you take. So what I want to encourage all of you to do is come up with your biggest goal and then apply and then think even bigger, and then apply auto-suggestion. And what this will do is it'll reprogram your unconscious mind. Well, you'll actually begin to believe, at least it worked for me, you'll begin to believe that you're going to achieve that result.
Yep. And many of them already, they've heard me say this in sense of the fact that they, part of the whole point of the cash flow diaries, yes, is to document this process of everything that has happened, but also onto where we're headed. And the goal is currently 1,000 free and clear units inside the U.S. and 1 million square feet inside the U.S. of commercial space, which together sounds very nice and large. And now that I've said it so many times that it's like, okay, cool, this is what we are doing. The funny thing is I can remember the first couple of times that I said it, it didn't feel so natural, but now it's like, okay, this is what we're doing and this is where we're headed and this is how we get there and all these types of things. So it's been a journey. It is a process. What I hope you're hearing is that you can create that instantly. You don't have to wait for someone to give you the permission to go out there and be great. This could start today, and all you must do is begin. And it starts with your language. I love this. You know, oftentimes we can fool ourselves into thinking that, hey, I did that program already and I don't have to do it again. There's a continual process for each and every one of us. We're all on a completely different path in so many ways. Now, we might have similar destinations at the end of the day. How we get there, though, yeah, well, there's one way. With that being said, many of you know we've not been doing a cash flow question during this time, waiting for the book to come out. It's really, really close. That's why I'm going to give you an opportunity to get a free sample of it. Some of you already know, but just in case you don't, what you need to do is text the word sample to 949-682-3565. Again, I'll say it one more time, 949-682-3565. Text the word sample, SAMPLE, and fill out the prompts. And what's going to happen is going to email you a sample of the book. You'll get the intro in the first chapter, hopefully. For those of you who have already gotten it, you are enjoying it and hopefully eagerly waiting now for the release of the book. It is close. I can almost taste it. Oh, it's all almost tasted. Many of you also know that we've started a new service. Sometimes people are looking for a quick, easy way to be able to add cash flow to their own portfolio. So now we provide you with property. Very cool, I think, anyway. Cash flowing property using our teams, using our processes so that we know that you're getting the right stuff. It's working very well for those who are, hyper busy professionals, sales or graphic artists and dentists and doctors, as well as those of you who are looking to start for the first time or even just expand and be able to get multiple units really, really efficiently all at once. Anyway, you want to send a text message to 949-682-3565. This time the word is property. 949-682-3565. For those of you that are international investors, you want to send that, just go over to begininvestingnow.com. Fill out the information. We'll get you guys started. And don't forget, you get the free keywords, right? You get the ebook on buying and holding. You're going to get the bonus video that teaches you how to buy and hold using none of your own money or credit, 5 different ways of doing so, and the Super Ninja Secret market analysis video. Hopefully you enjoy those, and I look forward to talking to you guys, obviously. It's always fun for me anyway. Well, let's get back to the interview.
Well, what Jay and I are talking about right now, I've gotten Jay since just recently. You've never heard me talk about this because it's brand new. I've gotten really into seeds, like planting seed in the ground.
Okay.
And it's a call like this, it's really about planting seeds in the minds of the people that are listening. And so those seeds might grow, they may not grow. It depends on what each person listening does with it. But the idea that I just dropped on all of you, and it's so beautiful that it's in alignment with what Jay's already been speaking. See, Jay has that concept. Give me the number again about the units and square footage.
It's 1,000 units of residential space inside the U.S. and 1 million square feet of commercial space.
Okay. How many times do you think you've said that out loud or you thought the thought?
No, I don't know. I've hundreds maybe by now.
Yeah. See, it's not like Jay just said it for the first time.
Yeah.
And it's not like I just said it for the first time. I'm going to train and certify 1 million people in the Eric Lofholm sales system. I mean, you couldn't say it that quickly if you were saying it for the first time.
Yeah.
So, see, Jay and I are living this distinction of auto-suggestion with a giant goal. And so as all of you are listening, we're role modeling for you. So what you do is you take that idea and then you come up with your own goal. For Jay, it's the 1 million square footage with the commercial, and the other number for me, it's the training and certifying of the 1 million students. You come up with your own. That actually, just that one thought, I mean, it's probably one of the 10 best ideas I've ever come up with. That one thought could change your life. And that's why calls like this are so important, because we're just planting these seeds in your mind, and if it resonates with you and that seed grows, it could end up being life-changing for you. And that's what Jay and I are all about, making a difference in the lives of other people.
Well, the funny thing is it's like saying, you want a lemonade stand, you want to earn money. You can earn money with a lemonade stand. Well, do I want to sell or serve 100 glasses of lemonade a weekend, or do I want to sell or serve 1 million glasses of lemonade a weekend? Those it's still serving lemonade. There's a difference in scalability of that thought and how you go about it. And I can say that because of that thought, that sent me down a completely different path of action. For example, even this show is a result of that thought, because I'm like, well, if that's what I'm going to do, I'm not going to do it alone, and I'm going to have to find more people who can resonate with this idea and share it with them. How am I going to do that? I don't know. How can I help them? I don't know yet. And what the evolution of that thought led to, well, maybe if I provide some additional content that helps more people when it comes time to buy that next large commercial building, or when it comes time to renovate that next apartment building, they'll be in a position to where they can actually do and participate right along with me. And that started this particular show, that started this particular process, and has continued to develop into extra products and services that people have the ability to take advantage of. It's not just because, I wanted to find something to do. I wanted to achieve a goal, make a difference, and have some influence. And that leads you down a completely different path. But it starts, and please hear this again, it starts with something as simple as a change in language. And that change in language can happen right now. Now, many of you don't know this, but you've heard me say many times, move at the speed of instruction. Eric, you want to share with them where that comes from, please?
Yeah, it's funny because it's one of the things that I regularly say. It's part of my company culture, move at the speed of instruction. But I'll tell you where I got it from is I was attending an event, and there was a speaker there, a guy named Ed Milet, and Ed said to the audience, move at the speed of instruction. I'm like, I love that. Well, we don't have Ed on the phone right now, but if we did, and we said, well, Ed, where did you get it from? He probably got it from somebody. And it probably goes back to some individual, and it's a very powerful thought, because a lot of people learn ideas and then they never do anything. So move at the speed of instruction. It's like, boom, I get an idea, I'm going to go out and take action. And I want to come back to something I said a couple times, and Jay just said it. Change begins in language. See, once I started saying, I'm going to train and certify 1 million students, I had the same experience you did, Jay. I'm like, I can't keep doing it the way I'm doing it because at this point in my career, and I'm proud of what I've accomplished, but I have a little over 5,000 students in 15 years of being in business. And I've identified I'm going to do this for, roughly another 30 years. Well, at the rate I'm going, I'd only reach 15,000 people. So I've had to automate my entire company, and I'm still in the process of doing it, where the majority of my training, it won't be done with me live. It'll be done through the video version of me. So I call it Digital Eric. Digital Eric is the one that's going to train and certify all these people because I personally can't reach 1 million people. I had to alter my entire business strategy because of a thought. I want to train and certify 1 million people. Change begins in language. I started speaking that, and then it automatically caused me to change my direction, and it all comes out of language.
Yep. And that's the whole point. And once you begin that change, once you begin taking new actions, the universe, God, everything begins to respond to you differently. You begin to pull, if you dare I say, call to yourself different thoughts, different resources that are required in order to execute it. And you just got to keep moving with that thought process. And that's been, and it's been an amazing journey to be open to that process. And it's been even more fun when you can find other individuals and influence them in that process and know that you're doing it for all the best reasons that you have inside of you. And that is the very thing that you, my friend, are very, very good at. You're very, very good at helping someone who has no concepts, or at least wrong concepts, learn to develop the correct concepts so that they are now free to take action. Could you talk a little bit about just that process? How did you get so dang good?
Yeah, it's interesting. When I was taught by Dr. Boyne many years ago, and I became the top producer at that division, and I've gone on, I was top producer for Tony Robbins after that. Then I started my own company, and it really comes down to this idea, and I call it energy advantage. Energy advantage is that we're all born with unique gifts and talents. And you can say they're spiritual gifts. You can call them, just gifts you're born with, whatever you want to call it. We're born with natural gifts. I believe every one of you on this call listening, you have greatness inside of you. You were born with natural gifts. And so it's about getting your vision and your goals in alignment with your natural gifting. And so my natural gifting is teaching. And so nobody taught me how to be a teacher. I started tutoring in 7th grade. I taught my whole life. And once I had Dr. Boyne's system, most powerful system ever created, I started teaching sales to my coworkers, and I started producing sales champions in my early 20s. They weren't paying me a fee. I was just helping for the joy of teaching. So it was getting Dr. Boyne's system and then in alignment with my natural gifting. And a way you activate a distinction is with a question. So the question you ask yourself is, what are my natural gifts and talents, or what are my spiritual gifts? And then once you identify that, you create a vision for your life, and that vision doesn't necessarily have to be something that you're in charge of. Sometimes you could have a vision working inside of somebody's company. Sometimes you could have a vision in a partnership. Sometimes you can have a vision playing a role on a team. And you get your vision and your goals in alignment with your energy advantage, your natural gifting, and that's what happened for me. And I look back today on my career when I started. I was 28 years old. I worked out of a spare bedroom in my condo. I had a crummy website, a terrible business plan. I was greatly underfinanced, and here we are 15 years later, and we're a global sales training organization. And I think the only reason it's worked is because I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, and if you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, you can do some really, really great things.
Oh man, I can so totally agree with you. It's like that I've worked for years to figure out where I belonged, and I didn't know, and I just didn't know, and then out comes this whole opportunity and everything surrounding real estate. And it's not, let's be clear, it's not real estate in and of itself. I don't get this sense of pleasure in holding hammers and doing this type of thing. That's not where I apply myself inside the business. My strengths are in getting that team together. My strengths are in making sure that there is a vision. My strengths is in communicating that vision and sharing that vision with lots and lots of people, and making sure that people understand that we are on a mission, not just building real estate or redeveloping, a piece of land or property. And being able to be in alignment with that is fun. It finally feels like I don't work. It's just I'm having fun every day. Now, I believe it was you that said something to the effect of, it's not selling you don't like, it's not selling. Is that right?
That one doesn't. I'm not remembering that one. So there might have been something slightly different.
Okay.
That I said, but it's not registering.
Okay, that's fine. There's so many things that I attribute to you because you had such a profound impact on everything that I now do and have begun doing and helping other people to do, that I just, it's just, I just give you credit for everything. It's easier that way.
Yeah, it's really, I loved hearing your share before we actually hopped on to do the interview. Because I go out and I speak almost every day. Today we're doing this interview. Sometimes I'm doing webinars. Sometimes it's the front of the room speech, and I've probably been in front of between 100 and 200,000 people through the years. And you just keep planting these seeds of greatness, and you just never know when they're going to grow. And it was just wonderful hearing that it was memorable for you, and it just had such an impact on you. And hearing all your great multi-million-dollar results is wonderful.
I'm grateful. And I think one of the things that you said in just a few seconds ago that some people may have missed, that's been very, very key to that, is how you identified the distinction by using a question. And oftentimes I want to relate to people that questions are the answers. They're looking for what is it that they have to do? What is it they have to say? What is it they have to be? And typically it's asking more questions in the realm that you were doing that unlocks that next step. So let me ask you this. When it comes to the whole game, when it comes to building business, trying to build some cash flow, putting it all together, I would love to hear your thoughts on how some of the existing skill sets that many of us may think aren't transferable are and actually are skill sets inside of sales. For example, if I'm working with a single mother, she's like, I can't sell. I'm like, do your kids go to bed on time ever? She's like, yeah, then you can sell. What are some of the other things that you think maybe are possibly misidentified that could give someone hope that they've already got some sales skills on the table?
Yeah, well, I think one thing just about skill sets in general is that there is the energy advantage, and in my particular case, it's teaching. But I also believe that anybody could learn best practices and become a better teacher. And that's going to go through with skill sets across the board, whether it's leadership, I think anybody could learn how to become a better leader. They could learn how to become a better negotiator, and it's really about identifying the best practices. When it comes to sales, some of the specific skill sets that I train on, one is lead generation. And so one of the biggest complaints I hear is, well, Eric, I don't have enough leads. Well, if the question is there a demand in the marketplace for what you're offering? And if the answer is yes, then it's not a lead problem, it's a training issue. It's not knowing how to get those leads. Appointment setting, taking the lead and then getting them to agree to book an appointment with you is a learned skill. I teach all roads lead to a professional sales presentation. So what that means is when you get a lead, you want to book an appointment to where you take them through a well-thought-out presentation to produce a likely yes. And then presentation skills, building trust and rapport, there are best practices on that. Identifying customer needs, bringing the benefits to life. There are specific techniques, storytelling techniques, for example, that anybody can learn. It's not that you have to be a naturally born person at telling stories. You can learn the principles of how to tell an effective story. For example, here's where the prospect was before they met me. Here's the problem they had. here's the product of mine that they purchased, here's the results that it produced, and then here's how it's helping them beyond that initial result. Once you understand that structure, that's probably a half an hour conversation, but when you really get that, anybody can utilize a formula like that. Follow-up skills, closing skills. Closing is a learned skill. When you know what to say, when to say it, how to say it, why to say it, anybody can take a closing script and practice it like the script for a play. I could teach it to my 11-year-old son, and he could go and close if I gave him the proper script. And so it's just realizing that business in general is a learned skill. And just that in and of itself is a realization. It's like, oh, I don't have to be born knowing how to generate leads. I can actually learn it, and you can learn any aspect of it, whether it's Twitter or social media or learning internet marketing or learning how to sell on conference calls, and you just find the right teachers. And so I just want to really put out hope for all of you that you have the intelligence to learn any of these skills. As long as you have the right teacher, you are empowered that you can learn these skills.
And let me go on record by saying you're listening to one of the right teachers. Okay. Now, I happen to know that you currently have you've put a lot of these thoughts. I know right about now, someone is going, okay, I get it. I need more. What would you say to that person who is desiring more so that they could begin to take that next step? What would their next step in furthering and deepening their relationship with you be?
Yeah, I've got 3 no-brainer next steps, and I want you to do all 3 of them. And the first thing I want you to do is go buy my book. You can get, if the fair market value of my book is $10,000, I teach you my whole system. In fact, the book is called The System. It's over 250 pages. You find it on Amazon.com. You go find the book called The System. Go buy it right now. It's like I'm there coaching you one-on-one through the book. I teach you the entire system. You can also get that in the ebook. If you happen to do the Kindle thing, you just go to Amazon.com, get the Kindle or the paperback. So that's the first thing. The second thing, go get my app. You just type in Eric Lofholm in the App Store for the Droid or for the Apple app. Go get the app. It's free. And then go to my main website, which is saleschampion.com, and sign up to get some free training from me. That'll put you on my email list, and you can be notified of. I mean, we do so much great free training. We have paid services as well. So go to Amazon.com. Step number 1, buy my book, The System by Eric Lofholm. Step number 2, go get my app. Just go to the App Store under Eric Lofholm, and then go to saleschampion.com. Opt in. That'll put you on my email list. And then when the timing's right, if you want to sign up for one of my coaching programs down the road, fine. But take these initial low-cost and free steps, and then I'll get you a lot of additional information to move your business forward.
Excellent. So before we end, I've got the all-important question. Say I'm hearing you for the first time. I just maybe I had a bad experience at work today. Maybe I'm just going, man, I know I could do better. What would you say to me, meeting me the first day, first time, knowing that I want more out of the current existence that I'm living and operating under, but I just feel like I'm not getting to that more, but I want to be able to have access to the ideas and the resources and the things that I know I'm capable of. And maybe I want to create a business. Maybe I want to do real estate. Maybe I just want to recruit more people to my team. Maybe, maybe all I want to do is just get my kids to bed on time. What would you say to me to become better? If you had one thing to say, one thing that would make all the difference in my life today, knowing everything you know and all the thousands of people that you've influenced, what would you say to me today?
What I would say is you're responsible for your life. And so, whatever's showing up in your bank account, that's your responsibility. And if it's not what you want it to be, you're responsible for that. The relationship that you have with your spouse right now, good or bad, you're responsible for that. The type of parent that you are, the health that you have, what's going on. I mean, there's certain health things that are out of your control, but there's a lot that we have control over. You're responsible for your life. And once you accept that, now you're empowered. If you choose to believe you're not responsible, okay, now you're at cause. Now you're a victim. And the victim, they can't seize control. And so my life has transformed. I used to be a cook at McDonald's. I was 5 years in community college and never got the AA degree. And I just said, okay, I'm responsible. And from that, I made wonderful decisions that have made huge differences in my life. And I watch a lot of people that don't buy into that philosophy, or no one like me ever explained it to them. So, my ending key distinction for you is you are responsible for your life.
Awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope that you understand that today you've been in the presence of one of the great ones, the one that has the ability, the desire, and the willingness right now to assist you. He's giving you some things, 3 very specific things to do. So you know what I'm about to say. It's time to move at the speed of instruction. You've been told exactly what needs to be done. The only thing that's preventing you from doing it is you. And unfortunately, right now, you're not moving quite fast enough. All right. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I will talk to you again. Until next time.
Thank you for investing your time with Jay Massey and the Cash Flow Diary. When you have a moment, please visit iTunes and leave a positive comment about the show. And go now to our website, cashflowdiary.com, to take advantage of our free business building course, Cash Flow Foundation. Gain the knowledge, understanding, and skill that will teach you how to never need a job again. Until next time.